A regular car maintenance check. Not much similarity between this and the work of the International Monetary Fund, you might think, but it's a pretty good analogy for one of its core responsibilities, surveillance.
Surveillance, to some extent, is the equivalent of getting your car checked. Okay? You go in, you put your car into the shop, right? The guy goes around, he looks at it, he decides what's right, what's wrong, and he tells you about it. In many ways, IMF surveillance is the same thing.
So just as the mechanic checks the level of the oil or the state of the tyres, IMF economists regularly check over the health of a country's economy, things like its balance of payments, the level of its foreign reserves. The job of surveillance was established in these documents, the IMF's founding Articles of Agreement. The hope was that these regular surveys of a country's economy would help anticipate or avoid crises before they happened.
Countries are having difficulties, whether that be economic or with their fiscal situation, their tax situation. Fixing those kinds of problems are often very politically sensitive in countries, and sometimes having the imprimatur of an IMF statement and review that comes through the surveillance can help bolster the forces for reform and for change within a country.
These are the archives at IMF headquarters in Washington, D.C. Although many official papers are now available in electronic form, it's here that IMF archivists keep copies of the paperwork relating to surveillance. Documents like the so-called Article 4 report. Every year, IMF economists will return from their annual fact-finding mission of member countries' economies and draw up an Article 4 report. This is then submitted to the fund's executive board. It discusses the report and its conclusions are summarised in a PIN or Public Information Notice, which is freely available to all. As well as bilateral surveillance, the IMF also undertakes multilateral surveillance, with its findings published regularly in 2 publications. The World Economic Outlook, or WEO, provides a detailed analysis of the state of the world's economy, while the Global Financial Stability Report covers developments, prospects and policy issues in international financial markets.
Take the current crisis. The current crisis is not a problem in individual countries. It's a very, very coordinated problem. And as such, you want sometimes to combine your views about countries and say what the broad story is.
The global economic crisis, which ignited in mid-2007, demonstrated how one country's economic and financial policies can impact the whole world. The IMF surveillance function is designed to give early warning of any possible economic problems on the horizon. The hope is that by identifying these and taking evasive action, it's more likely to be one smooth road ahead.